Welcome back to MCTV Extra Point. I'm your host, as you know, CJ Ritchie. My analysts tonight are Nick Lucarelli and Cameron Watkins. Thanks for coming again, guys.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. Getting right down into business, we're going to talk about the NHL playoffs. Now they've been a great swing of things lately. Last night, Montreal closed out a series sweep over Tampa Bay with a 4-3 overtime win. Tampa Bay, what do you like? They couldn't even start.
Yeah, it seemed like
finished before they started.
Yeah, they got off to a bad start game one, and I think that's really what happened. You know, they couldn't get any consistent scoring from the top two lines. I think that was really their downfall. You know, you said it, and I really, to be honest, you stand corrected. I took Tampa Bay was going to take it in 5, and you said the top two lines got to score, and I agree with you. But the difference was I thought they were going to, but they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, picking Montreal in 5, I thought that was kind of a ballsy move, but. It turned out Tampa Bay really didn't, but I have some bad picks everywhere else, but that was a really solid one.
Yeah, I was very surprised.
Cam?
Well, you know, I predicted Montreal was going to win at 6, but it was shocking to see the Lightning go down in a sweep, honestly.
I know, with the goalie being gone, you really thought they were going to step up a little bit, but they were just deflated, the whole team. On a personal note, let's look at the New York Rangers and Philadelphia Flyers. New York Rangers win last night 4-1.
What a game it was.
In Game 3. Martin St. Louis total for the series so far, 3 goals, 2 assists. Claude Giroux, 2 assists, only 1 shot on goal. Ray Emery's save percentage, .888. It's a dreadful number for a goalie. Nick, overall in the series, what are you looking at?
Well, again, we talked about it before. Going into the series, we talked about home ice. That was our big thing. But, you know, looking at the series as it is right now, I think the Rangers are in a good spot, you know, as a Rangers fan, speaking objectively. But, you know, I wouldn't be cracking open any champagne early because, you know, the Flyers got some firepower offensively, and I don't see how you can count them out just yet. You know, they got the next game at home. I think, unfortunately, they take it, and I think it becomes a new series, man. You know, you got Game 5.
Seesaw kind of games.
Yeah, you got Game 5 in New York, Game 6 back in Philly, Game 7 in New York. I think it's going to come down to those 2 games being in New York after Philly wins this next one, and that's what I think is going to be the difference. I stick by that. I think the Rangers take it in 7 purely because of home ice.
I have to agree with you. You know, game two was utterly odd. Rangers they were up 2-0, and they let the Flyers score 4 straight goals. That's pretty weird. Lundqvist letting the Flyers score 4 straight goals on him like that.
It was amazing. And so the 2 goals were soft. The other 2 were they were nice goals. But I mean, he wasn't using the stick. His short side to side is really bad. But also another interesting point, Ryan McDonough is a -3 with 0 points. Plus minus, as my colleague understands, is not the most telltale stat.
It's a misleading stat.
Misleading stat, but
he's not playing well.
In other instances of the series going on, the plus minus is it tells a lot. Over to Boston, Detroit. Boston takes another 3-0 win over great goaltending by Tuukka Rask with a shutout. His goalie percentage, .976 at the save percentage. Greg Campbell playing great. Patrice Bergeron, a goal, 2 assists. Do you think Detroit had any shot left?
You know, you and me were watching the game last night. You know, the .976. It's purely objectively, it's a misleading number, man. A lot of those shots were now hard by Detroit. They were getting in the blue line, but none of those shots were going in. They didn't have a chance of going in right at his pads. I mean, they can't get any quality shots on Rask on a good defensive team like Boston. You're not going to score. You have no chance.
You know, I picked Boston to come out the East, and I'm standing by that pick. Detroit, they don't really have a shot of coming back in this series.
I mean, it's funny. It's only 2-1.
Yeah.
We're talking about like it's 4-0.
Because it feels desperate. As a fan, you feel like 2-1, it kind of feels like a hole. But as a Flyers fan, I think 2-1, if you win Friday.
Yeah, it's a whole new.
It's a new series. Like, they're splitting the 4
As they were
games,
saying last night, 1-1 series. It's a best of 5.
Yeah.
Objectively. San Jose and LA. San Jose wins an overtime thriller 4-3 against the LA Kings. Now San Jose's 3-0 over the series. Logan Couture for San Jose is a +5 with 2 goals, 1 assist. LA, here's where the plus minus comes in. Their top defenders, Robin Regehr, Slava Voynov, top 3 defensemen, -4 both on the plus minus scale. Patrick Marleau, left winger for the San Jose Sharks, 3 goals, 2 assists. That series over?
No, I don't think it's over just because it's...
Oh, I do.
Well, no, it looks like it's over because the LA's so streaky, you never know. You know, if I had to put money on it, I'd say it's over. I'd say it's over if I had to. But looking at it overall, you know, those top 2 lines, if they can get going and quick, you know, again, the 7 goals makes it look poor. Like he's played poorly.
They've had 17 goals in 3 games.
I know, but I think it's more so the defense than him. I think he's
Well,
still making quality
That's
saves.
why, as you say with your team, Lundqvist. Lundqvist looks great because of his defense, and if the defense doesn't work, Quick can't work as good as he even.
Well, I think Quick's better than Lundqvist. I think
No, yeah, but the defenses are completely different.
Yeah, and that's to me. But again, that's my point. If
Would you rather have 2 average, or would you rather have a great goalie and a crappy defense?
I know what you're saying, but my point is for this series specifically, if they can get the defense working again, I think Quick will then pick up a game. It's not like it's going to be Quick still going to be where he's at. He picks it up when they pick it up. So if they can pick it up in this game, I have no reason to think they can't win at least 2 and make it a little bit interesting.
I just don't see him winning 4, Cam.
I don't see him winning. Maybe I'll give the Kings maybe 1 game at that.
Yeah.
Just to keep them in the series.
Pessimists.
Well, those were the games last night. Now moving over to the games tonight and tomorrow. Columbus versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's up 2-1 in the series. 7 o'clock start tonight. Brandon Dubinsky has been he's been on Crosby like white on rice. It is insane how much he checks him. He hates him so much being a former Ranger. Brooks Orpik, Paul Martin, Matt Niskanen, the Pittsburgh defenseman, 9 total assists, plus minus 6 total, and 3 goals for all of them. Sergei Bobrovsky, I think, is the answer for Columbus if they're going to win the series. What do you take on the series?
You know, again, as a Pittsburgh hater, and I'm sure you're a fellow one as well as Cam, many people like Pittsburgh, but, you want to root for Columbus. Forget about Pittsburgh. They're playing so hard. Jack Johnson is playing incredible. As you said, Dubinsky, a big Dubinsky fan as a former Ranger. It's just, you want to see him win. I don't think it's possible just because it seems like they have an answer to everything Columbus does. Columbus brings everything up. All 4 lines are playing consistent, but then Pittsburgh responds. They have too much playoff experience. They've got like 7 guys from the 09 Cup team. It's just I just don't.
They're missing a lot of like Lovejoy's gone.
Yeah.
The other player.
Crosby's there, Malkin's there, Niskin's there, Martin's there, Fleury's there. I mean, it's tough to overcome that experience.
But they're playing very lackadaisical.
Well, they're
Pittsburgh,
up 2-1.
Do you think they're underestimating Columbus though?
Well, at this point they can't be. Maybe they were in the beginning.
Definitely when they lost that game, yes. Now it's Anaheim versus Dallas is the next series. 2-1, Anaheim's up. Kerry Letton's playing very well. It's a matter of Anaheim's got so much firepower. It's so hard to stop. Jamie Benzo is well playing great. Getzlaf and Perry are both taking care of their what they're supposed to be doing. They're playing great. Both 3 points each, plus 3. But Tyler Seguin must improve if Dallas wants to win. He's got 1 goal.
That's they paid him all that money coming up from Boston. This is where he needs to show it up. I don't care if it's worth 30 goals in the season. This is when it matters, and you're right, he needs to step up. But I still think Dallas in 7. I stick by that. Anaheim is a good team, but I just think.
And Anderson, the goalie, has been a little shaky.
Well,
not awful, not bad. Just shaky.
I don't even think goaltending matters there. I think it kind of cancels out. To be honest with you, I think it really comes down to those top lines, and you're right. It's Perry, Selene, and Getzlaf are beating out Sagan, Ben, and Everly. They just are.
All right, Cam.
It's tough to call. I'm gonna still give it to Dallas, honestly.
I would love to see. That's why I picked as well in 7, along with Nick.
Hopefully we're all right.
St. Louis and Chicago, big stuff. Brent Seabrook gets tossed after injuring David Backes. He gets a 3-game suspension. Really heated series. St. Louis is up 2-1. Game at 9:30 tonight. Ryan Miller and Corey Crawford playing very averagely. Nothing spectacular for both of them. I think it relies on the grinding defensive effort from both teams with Bo Meester and Pietrangelo, and then Duncan Keith. Brent Seabrook. Yeah. I really think it's going to be a defensive. It's really going to be who wins because both offenses have a lot of stars who can produce shots, but the defense is. I think that's who makes the difference.
I agree 100%. I couldn't say it better myself. I think the Blues defense just this season, not in the span of the careers. They have some very decorated players over on Chicago's side, but this season they play better defense. I think they're going to win the series because of that too. In 7.
I agree with you. St. Louis Blues defense has been pretty stellar throughout the entire season.
Just right now, you can't pick against them.
All right, over to Colorado and Minnesota, who do not have a game tonight, but they'll be playing tomorrow night for Game 4. Colorado's up 2-1 over the Minnesota Wild with Zach Parise, American star. Ilya Bryzgalov played the first 2 games. His save percentage is .822. They pulled him and put another player in. He's had a shutout in the last game. Nathan McKinnon is a +5, who's the best rookie I think out there. And I think Parise, he's got 1 goal, must find the net if Minnesota's going to advance. Well,
Parise is doing a lot of things that don't show up on the stat board.
Well, he's a 2-way player.
He's playing tough defensive forward hockey right now. I think with that great goal by Granlund, and I think Minnesota's still got a shot to win it. Varlamov, again, that's eat some of my words. You know, he's playing well. He's playing well.
Patrick Waugh's your coach, man.
Yep, I thought he was overrated during the season, but he's playing well. Right now, that could change. But I still think Minnesota takes it. I think Priest is one of the reasons, again, he's not scoring goals. And I'm not even sure if he has any assists, but it's not about that. It's the way he's playing against the boards. He's intimidating, and Suter's playing great defense. I think Minnesota still takes it.
I really have a lot of love and respect for Patrick Waugh, but Minnesota, they're just playing really intense, great hockey right now.
Yeah.
I have to give it to the Wild.
They're playing well. That was NHL playoffs. Now moving over to the MLB around the league. It's a really slow start for baseball. 162-game season. You kind of it gets lost in all the thick of things. But some great stuff happened this week. Pujols' 500th home run. Joins an elite group of players: Barry Bonds, steroid users, but you know, you got Michael Jack Schmidt, Willie Mays, some of the greats from teams. Well, what do you think about Pujols? He had 2 home runs in that game as well.
Oh yeah, Pujols is he's really he's really marvelous. You know, when he first went to the Angels and he wasn't playing well and took all that money after the World Series win, you know, it puts a little bit damper on his career in that sense, where it's like, you know, I don't like how this guy who was hitting so many home runs, playing so well for years with one team, he was St. Louis, and now he's in a bit of a slump. But it's happy that he's coming back a little bit. He's playing a little bit better.
He's picking it up.
You know, it's good to see. You don't want his career to be diminished by that. So I'm glad he's starting to pick it up. I think he represents the game in a really positive light, you know, with all the negative things going on with big home run hitters. So I'm glad he's getting 500. I'm a big fan of Albert Pujols.
You know, Albert Pujols, he's always been a really great role model for the game of baseball. And just like you said, like it was really terrible to see. Like he first got to Los Angeles last year, and he wasn't producing the way we were used to seeing him hit the way he was back in St. Louis. So it's really great to see him regain his stride again. Definitely
good for baseball. Another historic mark. Wrigley Field turned 100. Haven't seen a World Series in a while, but at least they turned 100. The Chicago Cubs fans, you really can't say nothing about them, but at least they're dedicated.
Oh yeah, you
might crucify a guy who tries to catch a ball. Moises Alou might want to kill him.
Yeah.
But you know, great fans, great stuff. I would love to go to Wrigley before I die.
The white flag day tradition, you know, the Winter Classic being there in 09, everything comes back to hockey, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
But you know, it's, you know, this historic ballpark, and you know, everybody should go see them before they die. You know, I haven't, but I hope I do.
Yeah,
it's really historic.
Definitely a sports bucket list.
Yeah, good for the Chicago Cubs fans.
I was starting to think, you think it's a curse over the ballpark? Do you think that's
the reason
why?
They knock it down, people will stop being Chicago Cubs fans.
Why the Cubs haven't won a World Series?
That damn Billy Goat.
I don't know.
Interesting news about players and how they play. Bryce Harper benched for not hustling. Now, do you think that's a very good move? I appreciate a move by a coach like that, but a lot of people are let the man play, let him be a diva, because he's like, you know, wide receivers, they're allowed to be ridiculous because they play so well and because they score. Bryce Harper, offensive production. Do you sit him for actions?
You know, I was a big Bryce Harper fan before the story, and at first I was skeptical, saying, you know, well, at first I was thinking to myself, the way he carries himself, I don't think he would do something like that. But you also have to think it'd be pretty blatant for him to bench him. Then I saw the video on SportsCenter, and it was blatant. It was pretty embarrassing. You know, a sport like baseball, we've mentioned before, it's the hardest thing in the world to do in sports is hit a round ball with a round bat. It's tough to do. But the physical aspect, running, you only run a little bit a game. You can't
90 feet at a time, man.
You can't hustle the first base.
The farthest you have to run is 360 feet.
It's just when you get paid all that money and you're the face of the franchise, run to first base. I would have benched him for multiple games. The coach was livid, and I would be too.
You know, Bryce Harper, he's another role model of the game as well. You know, a lot of younger kids they're starting to look up to Bryce Harper because he's going to be an all-star as well this season, I'm hoping. So he needs to watch what he does on the field.
Another pitcher, Jose Fernandez from the Florida Marlins, doing what he does best. 14 Ks and a 1-0 win over the Braves. Great shutout. Moving on, Jacoby Ellsbury and Cole Hamels both return to their clubs. Who's more important to have back? For the Jacoby Ellsbury for the Yankees or Hamels for the Phillies?
More important, I think, yes, the Hamels just because of the position. You know, pitching, I think, is the most important thing in baseball. I think it's pretty unanimous too. But you know, Ellsbury, you know, coming back and shutting up Boston in his return, that was pretty cool to see. So they're both important, but then you have to give the edge to the pitcher.
I agree with you. It's pitching.
Comes back to everything.
Defense.
Yeah, I do agree. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we get back, we're on the NBA playoffs and our other analyst, Anthony Willis. Stay with us, guys.
Mark! Anna! Ooh! Hey, forgot your lunch.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent, because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you.
Did you take your medicine?
Oh gosh, I forgot it.
Her nurse,
Need a claim number?
her personal assistant,
Let me just grab a.
her housekeeper, her cook, her accountant. When I started taking care of Mom, I didn't realize the challenge of playing so many roles. But above all, I'm still her daughter.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving to connect with experts and other caregivers. Together we can better care for ourselves and the ones we love.
Welcome back to MCTV Extra Point. Now we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs a little bit. First series that we're going to talk about is one that's kind of in its early stages, but you think it's already over. Miami and Charlotte. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, is there much to say about it? Is there any chance for Charlotte?
It was over before it started.
Yeah.
You know, it's Miami's taking it. There's not much to say.
Well, you know, I really would like to see Charlotte win one game, but like we said before the series even started, it's over.
Is it even fun to talk about the Heat until the conference finals?
It's not fun to talk about the Heat at all, bro.
I don't think it is either. Here's a fun one. San Antonio and Dallas. San Antonio take the first game by a couple points. Is age catching up to San Antonio? Is it catching up to Dallas as well?
Well, I don't know if age more so. You know, San Antonio's going to take the series as much as I like to see the Mavs take it. I'm not a big fan of San Antonio. I know you are, the Popinator. But
Brown too.
yeah, well, I don't think age enters much as home court does. You know, I think we talk about it a lot on the shows, particularly myself. But home court, home ice, home field, it matters. It matters so much in sports, especially when it gets to a Game 7. I think the game goes to Game 6, and I think San Antonio takes it. And I don't think age has anything to do with it. I think they play more tactical basketball.
No, I keep on saying the Spurs window is closing year by year by year.
And they keep regenerating.
And they keep regenerating. They keep Popovich. He keeps those players. He keeps them fresh. He keeps them young. He keeps them in shape for the playoffs.
Any shot that Dallas can pull it out?
It's a shot.
It's a shot, but
not a realistic one.
Likely.
You know that Spurs team. They stay together. They've been together for at least about the past 8 or 9 seasons, I believe.
The core of
Parker,
the core of that team.
and Parker Ginobili and Timmy Duncan.
The core of that team. The core of that team been together for that past title.
You'll never find a bigger Tim Duncan fan than me. Portland, Houston. I'm so happy Portland won because I picked them. They won 122-120. Marcus Aldridge drops 46. Damian Lillard drops 31. Amazing. And but Dwight Howard, James Harden still play a great game. Harden misses that fadeaway at the end of the game, which he's made a million times before. Like, it's just gonna be a toss-up. I think it's just gonna be a great series to watch. Well, I really can't pick a winner.
It's funny in that Portland game. You know, our analyst Anthony, who will be coming up shortly, you know, he mentioned it last time about the X Factor being Jeremy Lin. And, you know, I thought to myself a bit of a scoff, but when it came on, they were moving towards Jeremy Lin. And they must have been listening to the show because, you know, that's what they were moving towards. And that was a big reason that they shut him down, wouldn't even let him get a pass off. You know, and guys like Harden and Howard, they couldn't get much going because of that, because everything starts at the point guard in basketball. And I think that was the reason they got the win. And if they can keep moving it up like that, I think Portland gets the series.
Well, you know what? If I think Chandler Parsons on the Houston Rockets, I think if he can get going and can take some of the pressure off of James Harden, it's going to be pretty tough for the Portland Trailblazers to keep up. But I'll still take the Trailblazers in 7.
All right. I think Lillard's very big for that. Because for Portland, LaMarcus Aldridge is a big man, but if you can drop 46, you're not really you're like a Kevin Durant. Like you got the size and you got the athleticism to score.
He can step outside and hit a jump shot as well.
Yeah, exactly. He's finally getting his 3-stroke back. Howard and Harden go over for 25. They both score over that. Still play well. I just think Beverly, their point guard, he had 8 points, but I don't think he was really playing sound that game. I mean, it was a great game. You win by 2 points, the 120 each. It's really hard to say. Either played bad. But, it's going to be a great series to watch. Moving down, really surprising, Washington, a great young team, beats Chicago again. Now, Wizards are up 2-0. Bradley Beal, 26 points in that last game. And everyone knows John Wall. Yeah. And Nene playing great in his latter years. Do you think Chicago has any chance to come back?
I think they have a chance to come back because, again, Cam talks about in the last show of how Chicago, without Derrick Rose, still finds a way to play good team basketball. And, they put up points. But Washington, I don't know how surprising it is. I think, CJ, you're the one who called it, saying that they got the youth would, invigorate their team. The fact, knowing that, they belong here.
Got nothing to lose.
And that's another huge thing, too. People expect them to lose. let's go out there and pull it on the line. They are, and I think they take the series.
So I think Columbus has got the same thing in hockey.
Yeah, it all comes back to hockey.
Every
Well,
time.
Washington, they're going home with the series advantage right now. They're going home with home court advantage. They have a 2-0 series
You're going to see
lead.
Wale, Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon on the side court.
They have a 2-0 series lead right now. It's going to be tough for Chicago to win 2 games on the road.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I think Washington's going to really just skate away with this series, and Jakeem's going to really want Carmelo back at that Chicago after the series is over. Brooklyn, Toronto, they've split. DeMar DeRozan leads them to a win. Paul Pierce led Brooklyn to a win before that. Joe Johnson has 18 points in the loss. Who has to step up for Brooklyn to command the series? They're very old, and Paul Pierce can't do it every time.
It's Williams, you know, he's the guy. He's the homegrown talent on that team that they were trying to build around. Why they brought in guys like Pierce, why they brought in guys like Garnett, the kid to coach him. You know, he's got to step up. He is still the leader of the team, I think, regardless of the 08 Celtics coming in. He's the leader of the team, and he needs to start putting up points and showing up on the stat board, not just in the locker room.
Darren Williams, he does have to step up. He does have to be the leader. But, you know, they brought Paul Pierce there to be the silent assassin. They brought him there to lead the team in the fourth quarter when it gets tough.
He definitely did that the last game.
He did. You know,
Toronto, another team in Washington, very young, I don't care what happens, we want to win basketball games. Atlanta, Indiana. Indiana comes back on Paul George's 27 points and wins another game after losing a shocker to Atlanta the first game. Silent hero of that game, Luis Scola, the forward and center for the Indiana Pacers, played really well. Do you guys think Indiana is just going to turn it on right now, get back, or do you think they're still going to play streaky basketball?
Well, it's hard to say they're going to stop playing streaky. They're going to win the series, but you know to me it's a moot point what they do in this series. They're either going to be out or they're going to win, but they're not playing well. I can't see them doing much in the East, even if they advance.
Really?
Yeah, they're playing streaky. I think Atlanta might take the series, so I don't even know if it's going to be. It might be an afterthought.
I have to agree with you. They are playing streaky. They're going to go to Atlanta right now, and they're going to split these next 2 games, but I'll give this series to Indiana in 6.
No, but and if it pushes to 7, then they're going to be a tired team that's streaky.
Yeah, they're going to be a tired team that's probably going to have to play the I believe they're going to play the Brooklyn Nets in the next series.
They're going to
play Brooklyn Nets in the next series, and the Nets, they're going to give them hell.
Yeah, so it's going to be tough.
Overdue Cam's favorite team, OKC Thunder, take on the Memphis Grizzlies. Finally get a win, just like Indiana did with Memphis. Memphis spreads the wealth really well with their old players, Zach Randolph, Connolly up at the point guard position. Really nice to see. Oklahoma City, you got Durant scoring a lot, you got Westbrook scoring a lot, and you got Ibaka above the 15 mark. They're playing well. It's just you got to win games. You got to find a way to win the game.
I mean, the question is, how healthy is Russell Westbrook? You know,
he scored 21 twice.
Bad shooting.
My point is, you know, with that angle, is maybe he needs to take a step back and not stop worrying about being the superstar of the team. Let KJ run it and just relax. Stop shooting so much because he doesn't look healthy.
Cephalosha is a great shot. If you just give him, he's got 6 points last game or 8 points. It's really, I feel like if Westbrook goes in drives, he gets 2 defenders on him. Cephalosha's wide open every time. Just feed him the ball.
He's got to start passing more. I think you would agree, Ken.
You have to look at the stat box. Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, they both had bad shooting nights in Game 2. They both took 28 shots, and they barely made half of them. Right. That's what it comes down to. You have to make shots when they count.
I agree. Now, my favorite series, another California series, hopefully not as bad as the hockey one, but LA Clippers take on the Golden State Warriors, also split 1-1. Excuse me. Steph Curry playing very well as usual. I really like Golden State, the way they play. LA was kind of pissed after that loss, came with like 120 to 90.
Yeah.
But I really think if Golden State has their composure back at home, Iguodala, like a veteran player, plays well. You got Curry, the other player. I really think Golden State can pull this out and make Chris Paul, Griffin embarrassed.
Yeah, I agree with them. You know, Blake Griffin, has there been a player that's turned you off more than him, this season?
With the elbow?
You're trying to like him, but every game it's something. He's not even becoming a factor now, too. Forget about his antics on the court. He's not even a factor in the series right now. And, you try and like him, but he makes it hard. I like Golden State. I hope they win it. Curry is playing really well, and I think they will win it.
I would like to see Golden State advance in this series as well. The Clippers, they won Game 2 by 40. I think they only did that to just make a statement to the Golden State Warriors and say, like, we're not going to back down from you, but they're going home to the to Oracle Arena in Oakland, and that's a tough place to play.
Yeah.
That's a really tough place to play.
Definitely will be. The NFL schedule. is coming out tonight or tomorrow morning, whichever suits Roger Goodell. But there's some important games that we have all thought. What's the most anticipated game for you next season, Nick?
Well, there's a lot of games coming out, but to me, the most exciting game I'm excited to watch is
for the regular season.
For the regular season is going to be in Week 5. The Kansas City Chiefs going to San Francisco 49ers. I think both those teams are going to be in it for the long haul.
Alex Smith comes back.
Alex Smith comes back, and I think Alex Smith takes it to his former team. I'd like to see some revenge for Alex Smith. I do not like the 49ers or Harbaugh. I think that was a very bad move, and they're going to find out Week 5.
I'm honestly anxious to see this Carolina Panthers Baltimore Ravens matchup, honestly.
Steve Smith.
Yeah, that sounds a good game.
I want to see what's going to happen with Steve Smith and
it's in Carolina?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet, honestly.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully it will be in Carolina.
Myself personally, I'm looking forward to the 2 games, Washington and Philly. I can't wait to see Deshaun Jackson. I mean, I really think Washington's going to step they're Ryan Clark at safety. They put a lot of additions. They have a lot of additions on that team. Maybe not some good ones, but additions at best. Eagles, the draft is going to be important. I really can't wait because Deshaun's going to be running his mouth. Earl Wolf, Brandon Boykin are going to be like, we're covering you. Like, we're not going to back down. Both players are going to know the ins and outs of each player. It's going to be interesting to see.
Just give him a cushion. I could cover Deshaun Jackson. Just give him a cushion. He's not going to run. He's not going to run 10 yards in front of you. He won't do any curls. He's not going to run over the middle.
When we get to fall,
just step back there.
They know how to play him.
It's going to be very.
They do know how to play.
The man had 70 first downs for the Eagles. I don't think you get that on all.
Yeah, you get it in, CJ.
All right, yeah. I don't think he's ever watched football because Deshaun Jackson does do curl routes. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about our Mount Rushmore of tight ends, wide receivers, and our guest analyst, Anthony Willis, will be finally joining us for the NFL topic. Stay with us, everyone.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
When I have an asthma attack, I feel scared. Sometimes my parents have to take me to the hospital. I feel like a fish with no water.
You know how to react to their asthma attacks. Here's how to prevent them. Visit www.noattacks.org or call your doctor. Because even one attack is one too many.
What his career numbers could look like by the time he retires, and that's Jason Witten of the Dallas Cowboys. He currently, as he stands now, at 879 catches for 9,799 yards and 52 touchdowns. He has probably the only real chance of catching the number one on probably everyone's list, who just recently retired. But just some of Jason Witten's numbers: NFL record 18 catches in a game for tight end. He has the NFL record 110 catches in a season for a tight end, and he's second all time for catches for a tight end, behind, obviously, we all know who he's behind, and he's a 9-time Pro Bowler. If he goes for a couple more years, he should be knocking dangerously close to the all-time great numbers for a tight end.
He's an Eagle killer, which I always hated.
Yeah.
But he's a great player. Always, whenever T.O. or Romo or Des Bryant get out of hand, he smacks them up. He talks to them, yells at them. Great football player, all around.
Represents the game.
Yeah,
Romo
Romo could. What you want.
Yeah, he's also a former Walter Player Man of the Year award. So I'm glad you brought that up, and how great of a person he is, because it's not just on the field; it's off the field. Okay, now getting to my next tight end. This is the guy that revolutionized the game for the tight ends, and that's Mike Ditka. He probably is the first tight end to be regarded as a superior blocker and a superior pass catcher in a time where tight ends were usually just very skilled blockers, probably somebody who couldn't make starting left tackle, or starting tackle, they would just plug them in as a tight end. Mike Ditka revolutionized the game for the tight end position, paved the way for guys like Antonio Gates, Vernon Davis, Shannon Sharps, those guys who are good blockers and also good pass catchers. Not number 2, but Shannon Sharp. We all know what Shannon Sharp has done. Been on 3 Super Bowl teams. He had a lot of the tight end records for a while until Tony Gonzalez came and kind of just shattered every tight end record. So Shannon Sharp definitely, and of course my number 1 is Tony Gonzalez, the greatest tight end to play the game.
I agree.
One of the greatest people off the field to play the game. He has every record for a tight end: 1,325 catches, 15,127 yards, and 111 touchdowns. 14-time Pro Bowler, first tight end to catch 1,000 passes, 10-time All-Pro. It's not much else you can say about Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez probably, he is the greatest tight end to play the game.
Staggering numbers.
It's hard to disagree with you, man.
Yeah, nice list.
Cam?
All right, well, no particular order once again, but first, Tony Gonzalez, you know, just like you stated, 1,325 receptions, 15,127 yards, 111 touchdowns, 14-time Pro Bowler, 10-time All-Pro selection. Also, most Pro Bowl appearances by a tight end, and he's also tied for the most Pro Bowl appearances by any player. So that speaks for itself. He's
14 straight, I believe.
Yeah, 14 straight. Yeah,
Ridiculous.
so what can you say about him? He's the greatest tight end. Second on the list is Mike Ditka. First true pass catching tight end. You know, revolutionized the game, just like you said, Anthony. Also the first tight end inducted into the Hall of Fame. Third, John Mackey. His numbers, they're not really productive. 331 receptions, 5,236 yards to go with 38 touchdowns. He also averaged 15.8 yards a catch. He was also a 5-time Pro Bowl and a 3-time All-Pro selection. And last I picked Shannon Sharp. And he was also part of those 3 Super Bowl teams, just like you said. And 815 catches, 10,060 yards, 62 touchdowns, 8-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro selection. He was a productive over his career.
I feel like the tight end position is very hard to put some players out of it. It's very hard to disclude them, but I'm sure our next analyst will find a way to.
No, it's I agree with a lot of you. There hasn't, to me personally, I haven't found one to be particularly egregious. You know, my first guy, but John Mackey. You know, he's a guy you really can't get into the dollars and cents, the numbers of him, but just what he meant to the game. Because you know, on one of the greatest teams of all time, the '58 Colts, the guy was the big play weapon, along with another receiver who I'll talk about in a little bit. He was the guy that Johnny Unitas threw to. He was also the guy that Earl Muller threw to in the great '68 Colts that unfortunately lost to the New York Football Jets. But he was the tight end for as soon as the beginning stages after Mike Ditka sort of started to revolutionize the position. He was the tight end. You know, they came around at the same time, but he wasn't skyrocketing like Ditka did. But then when he started coming to his own, 800 yards, 700 yards, 800 yards, which now sounds kind of like it's a good year for a tight end. You're a good tight end nowadays if you have that. But back then, the consistent numbers, unheard of. And again, almost 16 yards per catch. You know, never dropped the ball, makes some of the most incredible catches. You look at the highlight films, NFL films, man. You know, that's the kind of catches that the great Rob Gronkowski's make today that he was making back in the 60s.
He won't be playing too much longer.
Exactly. He was making it back in the 60s, and he was a durable guy. He represented the tight end position the way he wanted to. Second guy on my list, nobody's mentioned so far, is Ozzie Newsome. You know, he's in the headlines a lot now as a great general manager, great eye of talent, but back in the day, he was maybe, other than a guy like Jason Witten, the best blocking and receiving tight end of all time. And Ditka can throw in there too, where, you know, the guy just was a constant professional, 5-time Pro Bowl, if you want to get into the numbers aspect, but it was more than that. You know, he found a spot in the defense that was weak, and he exploited it. Almost 100 catches 4 times. He had around 80, 90 catches at the tight end. That's hard to do. Guys like Witten do it now almost routinely, but in the 80s and 90s when he was doing it, man, more the 80s, it was unheard of, and he represented the Browns in a great light. When they needed a player to step up and be the franchise guy, he was a great tight end. My next guy is Tony Gonzalez. I'm not going to bore you with the numbers. He gets open, catches the ball, durable.
Then he dunks the ball.
Then he dunks the ball. And, you know, I like how they retired that. No, you're not allowed to dunk the ball anymore.
Yeah.
Because he was the guy that should be dunking the ball. Nobody else should be dunking the ball.
I don't see no
league.
Deshaun Jackson.
No fun league.
Yeah, so he is synonymous with the tight end position. There's not much else you can say about it. I think you would all agree. And then Mike Ditka, I think you got to put on. I'm not a big fan of Mike Ditka, but he's a guy you have to put in your top 4.
Well, he's hating some.
You gotta respect Mike Ditka. You have to.
Maybe not as a player you do.
As a player, yeah.
Not as a coach for trading your whole draft.
Yeah.
Ricky Williams, but
the first tight end in the Hall of Fame. That's an impressive feat in itself. His first year in 1961, 1,069 yards and 12 touchdowns as a tight end.
As a tight end.
It's incredible. In 1961, the next leading guy was a receiver, and he had around 689 yards. And he had 1,069 yards.
As a tight end.
As a tight end in 1961.
He was physically better. I have Tony G as my number, as Tony G, Mike Ditka, who, by the way, every time when I was younger, when I heard Mike Ditka, I said defenseman, because I heard he was just a mean old man who coached a defensive Bears team in '85, and I learned about 6 years ago that he played tight end. So you learn something new every day. Shannon Sharp, number 3, and then my personal favorite, Dave Casper.
The Ghost.
I'm a big Oakland Raider fan back in the 70s, Jim Plunkett, all those guys, Kenny Stabler, love those guys. Now we're going to move on to wide receivers. I'll let the analysts duke it out first, because I'm always like to round up the group. Nick, let me get you first.
All right, man. No particular order, but again, as all of ours is kind of in a little bit of an order. The guy you got to mention first, whether you like to or not, is Jerry Rice. Just talk about representing the game. The numbers in this case do not lie. Durable, caught everything. The best yak man in the history of football. We will never see a guy like that. How many years he played at a consistent level. Until he was around 38, there was no drop-off. And then there was only a little bit of a drop-off.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, he was incredible.
Do you remember him in Denver?
Well, he technically never played in Denver.
He didn't play that season in Denver.
Seattle, that would be a viable one.
Yeah,
he didn't
even
play.
in Seattle, it was only a little bit of drop-off, when he was on the Raiders.
That's what I meant, Seattle.
Yeah, you're right, he was technically on Denver, but he never played a game. He was on the preseason squad. But, even the Raiders, when they got killed by the Bucks in 2002, he scored their only touchdown offensively. He was still a factor, and it's just, go all through all the numbers, his yards after catch, his yards per reception.
And that team brings up another wide receiver who I think is going to be not mentioned by anyone, but he's very good.
No, I know you're talking about.
Yeah, I do know you speak of.
Top 10?
He's top 15?
Maybe.
Top 15, yeah.
Back to Jerry Rice, back to Mount Rushmore. It's, there's not much you can put into words, just the way the guy played. He's just the best receiver of all time. My next guy on this list is Don Hudson. He's from the Green Bay Meat Packers. He's not a name you hear all the time, but the guy had 99 touchdowns when he retired in the 40s. In the 40s, he finished with 99 touchdowns.
Do you think he was angry that he didn't get that one?
I think he was. It took Steve Largent almost 50 years to break it with the 100. I mean, the guy was receiving. He was a 3-time MVP, a 3-time NFL champion. He was receiving. And, it's a shame that guys can get lost in the shuffle, because it's not our generation's fault, because a lot of people don't talk about them. They move on from
Well, what I think the physical dominance of these next players just go above and beyond what they could have done.
Yeah, but what he
it's
meant
just
to the game, though.
That's
the
true.
Aspect, the historical element. Is Calvin Johnson a better talent than him? Yeah. But, what he meant to the game.
What's Calvin Johnson going to mean to football
exactly,
when he's done? He's going to mean a bunch of numbers and a bunch of height.
He won them 3 NFL championships alone. He was incredible. He was football. And I think you got to put him in your top 4. My next guy is Raymond Berry, the greatest team of all time in the greatest game of all time, the 1958 NFL championship with the Colts. He caught 12 balls, 178 yards. That was the game that made him a star, and him with Johnny Unitas were the greatest pairing in NFL history, in my opinion, quarterback and wide receiver.
A big U fan.
He was the best route runner of all time. Johnny Unitas said in practice, on the street at barbecues, in games, he never saw him ever double catch a ball, let alone drop a ball. The guy was the ultimate receiver, because that's what we're talking about, receivers. The guy was a receiver. He caught everything. He moved the chains. He's why guys who aren't necessarily the fastest, like a Steve Smith or Naquan Bolden or a Steve Largent later, could play, because he won by being a mechanic machine, running 10-yard routes. When he ran 10 yards, he ran 10 yards, and he caught the ball. And that's what Johnny U could rely on, and that was a big part of Johnny U being so great. My 4th wide receiver is Chris Carter, and it's tough. His numbers, another guy that's durable, which is the guy caught everything. It was really unfortunate. And again, the beginning of his career, being struggling with off the field substance issues, and it took Buddy Ryan to cut him to get back on track.
You should have heard. There's a very interesting story about how he reacted. Again, when Deshaun was cut, he retracted his statements of what he said about Buddy Ryan and went the opposite way. Yeah. Which is a topic for another discussion, but
as Buddy Ryan famously said, all he did was catch touchdowns, and man, the guy, touchdown machine. The 98 Viking team with him and Randy Moss. Man, Randy Moss has said many a time
it's a dangerous tandem.
He would not be where he was without Chris Carter. Chris Carter, he was a guy that he was a little not out for himself, but he was an individual. Well, he admitted wasn't always the best teammate, but he was intense. He was a gamer, and that's one of the reasons why he was looked at a little bit of an intense, guy that kept to himself off the field. Wasn't the quote unquote vocal leader that you would want in a player, but he brought it all every single week, caught everything. Has the numbers to go along with it. I just wish we would have got a championship. Those are my receivers.
I agree with you.
Very good.
All right, well, this is no particular order, honestly. First is Jerry Rice. I'm not going to speak the numbers because if you're a real sports fan, you should know the numbers. But he was a 13-time Pro Bowler, and he still is the NFL all-time leader in reception yards and touchdowns.
That might never be caught.
It's never going to be caught.
Yeah.
Let's just say it's never going to be caught. But just like you said, he was a tremendous player. Always gave 110% when he was on the field, even when he was up in the age. When he got traded from the 49ers, playing for the years in the Oakland Raiders, he kept giving 110% playing with Tim Brown. Those years when he went to the Super Bowl. Jerry Rice, he's just a model citizen for the NFL. Second, Chris Carter, he's a real pro's pro. I know he just got inducted to the NFL Hall of Fame, and I'm really glad to hear that for him. I know he was a really good mentor to Randy Moss when he first came into the NFL. And just like you said, if Randy, who knows where Randy Moss would be if it wasn't for Chris Carter? Yeah. I don't think Randy Moss would have had that great NFL career if it wasn't for Chris Carter, in my opinion.
I don't think so either.
Third, I had to put Randy Moss on the list, simply because he had that great rookie season. I think people forget about that rookie record. That record set in rookie season, he had 69 catches, 1,313 yards, and 17 touchdowns. And those records still stand to this day, I believe. And fourth, Steve Largent, and 819 catches, 13,089 yards, and 100 touchdowns. And he did all of this without an elite quarterback throughout his whole career. And I believe he paved the way. He paved the way for like the Wes Welkers of the world, the Danny Woodheads of the world.
Get dirty.
All the great slot receivers. I believe he paved the way for them.
He was great.
Great wide receivers.
I don't know about Randy Moss though, man. I gotta question you on that one. But
test the time.
No, you know what? I probably just threw him on there because of numbers. Well, I had to say that. I'll probably say that.
I think he's without a doubt the best deep threat of all time, and in that way, I can defend it, playing devil's advocate, that if what's meant to football, that is a facet of receiving deep threat, and he was the greatest deep threat of all time. So I changed my mind actually. I think that's a good list.
Anthony?
Okay, well the first two wide receivers on my list are probably a product of my generation, product of me growing up, watching them, Sunday after Sunday. The entertainment that the first one provided, I got to go Terrell Eldorado Owens.
Yeah.
As my first receiver.
He's
the numbers are great.
He's a big fella.
1,078 catches, 15,934 yards, 153 touchdowns. That has him, I believe, third all time behind Randy Moss and Jerry Rice. When you are targeted over 20 times and you have 20 catches breaking an NFL record, and Jerry Rice's last game at Candlestick Park as a 49er, you're destined for great things. And it's just a shame that he, had all the off-the-field trouble and not off-the-field trouble, just how he was such a needy guy, and he would always, come after his quarterbacks. I mean, see Jeff Garcia, Donovan McNabb, Tony Romo.
Yeah, I think he cried for Tony, called Jeff gay, and him and Donovan fought. That was Terrell. Terrell he has a really bad relationship. Imagine his wife.
Man, he just, if that stuff didn't exist, I think people would be more willing to put him on top lists.
I know the player. I know a lot of the receivers and the offensive players with him. He always showed up to practice on time. He always did his work. He always knew the plays. They loved him as a player. He just had kind of like a
keeps his body in great shape. He could probably come back and still perform at a high level if he wanted to now. 5th player to reach 150 touchdowns, 6th player to catch 1,000 passes, 100 touchdowns, and 14,000 receiving yards. Randy Moss, for a couple of reasons that Cam just mentioned, he burst on the scene with that 17 touchdown rookie season. My favorite is him torching the Cowboys for Jerry Jones not drafting him. As an Eagles fan, I love seeing Randy Moss streaking up the sideline. There were 3 catches for 3 touchdowns, almost 200 yards, or he might even broke 200 yards. I can't remember the yardage.
Sean McCoy did that on the ground, Nick. Feels like Danny Woodhead's better. He's not 200 yards in the snow.
He's not better than Danny Woodhead.
Not better than Danny Woodhead.
I was at that game.
Danny Woodhead makes his way into our wide receiver Mount Rushmore conversation. I do not know.
Comes out.
But yeah, Randy Moss has a lot of different records. A really great receiver. I'm glad Nick mentioned Don Hudson. He was somebody that I recently found out about. People hail him as the first superstar wide receiver, the first person to run modern-day NFL routes. His numbers are amazing for his 10-year career back in 1935 to 1945 for the Green Bay Packers. He has a lot of NFL records. I think he retired with 18 NFL records, and to this day, he has 14 of them.
And Jerry's got the other 4.
Pretty much. I would. Yeah. It's pretty safe to assume that Jerry Rice would have the other 4.
Yeah.
Most seasons led the league in scoring 5. Most consecutive seasons led the league in touchdowns with 8. Most consecutive seasons led the league in touchdowns 4. So he has a lot of those NFL records. And of course, Jerry Rice, number 1, his work ethic was second to none. It's what turned a small school guy who, they harp on combine numbers and, 40-yard dashes didn't run well and was deemed too slow. In 20 years, he only missed 10 games, 7 of which was a really, really bad knee injury. So to play 20 years and only miss 10 games, very durable. Everyone knows the numbers if you're a true diehard football fan, not just a fan of the 49ers, but every football fan knows the numbers of Jerry Rice. There's really no need to even,
No, Jerry Rice, he's just
the king of the wide receivers.
Yeah, you really
king of the NFL.
You really can't.
Well, there is a need though to talk about the Terrell Owens.
Before we sign off,
you were going to bring
Nick
this up.
I think there is a need to talk about that. I just personally, again, Anthony, respect your opinion. I love how you include Don Hudson. We are the Don Hudson brothers. We respect the game, and I respect how you have some of the guys in there. But I don't know how you can put the guy in there that disrespected the game so much in your top 4 Mount Rushmore of people trying to represent the game of NFL football. You're going to show your future sons, future daughters, someone who loves sports. These are the receivers.
They don't got to watch the interviews,
These
Nick.
are the receivers I want you to see.
No, you don't have to watch the interviews.
These are the ones you're going to show. I mean, the guy caught 20 balls in that game because if they didn't throw to him every freaking down, he would have cried. I mean, the guy was a phenomenal talent. Phenomenal talent. Should be a top 10 receiver. Maybe top 15, maybe top 10 receiver. Could have been one of the best receivers of all time. But to me, the guy dropped balls. The guy was not a team player. He never won a championship because of that. And the best thing you can say about Terrell Owens, and I always say it, you can't take it away from the fact that on the biggest stage in that Super Bowl, he showed up.
He did show up. He played on one leg. He played on one leg in that Super Bowl.
You can't deny that. But other than that, the guy's a joke, and I can't see how you can include him on your Mount Rushmore.
He's a headache. Yes, he's a big headache. He's had the run-ins with the teammates and everything like that, split locker rooms. But, I mean, you have people that have gotten into, trouble with the law on numerous occasions being, listed in top list. For example, Lawrence Taylor, that's for another, conversation. But, I mean, nobody is denying what Lawrence Taylor did for the game and how he revolutionized the pass rushing linebacker.
I'm sure Nick will say he's the greatest defensive player of all time.
No, he's not even my top linebacker.
Okay.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Yeah, Terrell Owens, he made the game entertaining. I mean, and put up great numbers, and doing so, yes, I understand the difficulties that he had, you know, in the locker room. But I mean, a majority of his teammates really did respect and look up to
I don't know how
T.O.
much of that is true, though. You know, I've heard the same reports here. We've all heard the same reports. We all heard those reports, but
We've heard reports, but do you think those reports are
I don't.
actually true?
I don't. I think, you know, there's really no reason to kick T.O. while he's down. If, you know, if someone's going to ask Tony Romo in an interview if he's a good teammate, you know, T.O.'s having a tough time, what's Tony going to say? No, he was a terrible teammate. I think he's going to come to his day, which he should come to his day, because I think T.O. probably is genuinely a good guy deep down. He just got this complex where he just feels the need to show everybody how good he thinks he is, where, you know, if you just shut up and play harder and stop worrying about your contract or blaming Donovan McNabb for a pass you should have caught, then people would talk about you. You don't have to talk about yourself. And I just feel like representing the game, he's such a waste. It's upsetting. You know, he'd have a job right now if he wasn't like this. Didn't burn so many bridges. He's almost, what is he, 38, 39? He'd have a job
He's still
right
there.
now.
He's still there.
I believe he still has the work ethic to play, but he just needs to work on his attitude.
To hear this conversation in a couple years when it's Hall of Fame time, they're going to be debating this everywhere.
What, for T.O.? He'll be first ballot.
I think T.O. deserves to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I deserve.
First ballot
I think
too.
he deserves to be a Hall of Famer.
He
better.
Great numbers. He's a good player. And just when it comes
So it's
down
football
to it,
purists that are going to ruin everything if they don't put him in there.
Yeah.
He deserves to be in there, hands
He
down.
deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
My top
Mount
four.
Rushmore now.
Oh well, my Rushmore go in my Rushmore go in order too. I know every time I do mine, somebody leaves my guy out, but I always leave your guys out. Whatever. One, Jerry Rice. Two, Michael Irvin. Nobody wanted Michael Irvin.
Playmaker.
The hands. He never dropped the ball.
I love Michael
He
Irvin.
never dropped the
I'm
ball.
glad you mentioned
3,
him.
Chris Carter. I hate that Buddy Ryan had to get rid of him, but I mean, if he was on the Eagles and kept doing drugs and alcohol, then I'm glad that he got out of it. And then 4, Steve Largent, because he was like a mole. He got under everybody, he got dirty, and he caught the ball. He did what needed to be done. He got 100 touchdowns. It's an amazing feat. Well, that's all we have for tonight on MCTV Extra Point. I'm your host, CJ Ritchie. It's our analyst. Stick around. We'll be back next week.
Good.